Amber.
Thank you, Deluxe and Midwest Speed Fest for having me on. Hello, everybody. My name's Amber. If you don't know who I am, Amber_CXC on Twitter and Twitch. And this is Mario Kart. We're going to be playing Mario Kart. It's going to be a great time. Hope you're all ready. Bonus tracks, 200cc with no items. And yeah, if I remember correctly, Donkey Kong won the bid war. So we're going to be playing with DK. I'm going to be playing with red tires and the Cloud Glider. I normally use these, but if Roy had won, I was gonna use some different stuff, switch it up. Anyways, hard computers, 16 races. We're doing the hardest tracks in the game. And before I start the run, I should mention I'm holding down ZL while I'm selecting the track, and that makes Animal Crossing the fall season. It's a dev tool left in the game, and we allow it in speedruns. I'll mention it again when we get to Animal Crossing. It's not until quite a bit later. Anyways, the timer is going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I've got my own splits, but I'm not showing them on stream. Anyways, hello. We've got Yoshi's Circuit right away. It's the beginning of Egg Cup. The first track of this run is really, really hard, so I apologize if I stutter or mess up my speaking, repeat myself a bunch. This track's really hard and it will require a lot of focus from me. So just to recap for those of you who don't know, bonus tracks are the 16 tracks that were DLC for the Wii U version of the game. They are a fair bit harder than the normal 32 tracks in the game, though some of them are fairly easy. Some of them are like calling cards to other games and stuff, but overall, harder tracks. Very, very difficult stuff, especially when you're going at 200cc, when you're going so fast. One thing, I suppose, is with how hard it is, there's a lot of density as far as difficulty and tricks, but there's a lot of shortcuts, and I'm doing a bunch of shortcuts on this track, just running over hills, running through waterfalls, and I'm not really explaining them right now. I promise we'll have time to explain how they work later. Just know that sometimes you can drift off-road, and that momentum is really important when you're chaining drifts together, and that's what allows us to do stuff like that. Coin count is going to be relatively important for this run. Coins increase your top speed, and I'll be talking more about them later. We start with 5 on the first track, so it's less important here, but otherwise it's going to be a lot more important moving on because we start with 0. When you have 10 coins, you move 15% faster, 15% top speed increase, so it's really, really important. And that was a pretty decent Yoshi circuit. I'm not too upset with that. That was a 141 on the finish line, and that's pretty good. So now we're moving on to Excitebike RNG Arena. This is the only real source of RNG in the run. Because we're playing without items on, there's a whole lot of stuff that we can do because we're not being slowed down by items. Without the blue shell and the lightning slowing us down, we can really push this game to its potential, and it's awesome. But this track does have RNG in the form of all of these ramps that I'm taking. So each set of ramps, you'll see with this one where I'm going to be picking up 2 coins, that with the ramp there, and then this with the one extended thing. They're all little chunks, and they're put together in a random order, and a couple are left out. And so that can affect how fast you can cover this track. Overall, I would say this is a pretty good Excitebike Arena. That is a little bad, but there's not much I could do about it. I did a pretty good backup strat to get through it. Wasn't the end of the world, for sure. And I can do it differently in lap 3 so that doesn't happen. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of different drifts throughout the run. There's 3 different tiers of drifts. Yeah, he dabs on the jumps. This is why I don't play with him normally. It's a bit ridiculous, but y'all paid for him, so he's here. There's 3 different tiers of drifts. There's the mini turbos, which are blue, super mini turbos are orange, and then ultra mini turbos are pink or purple. They're all different speeds, and so yeah, they're all different speeds. They're different sizes and they charge in different times. So now I suppose is a good time to mention character choice. Oh, that can happen sometimes. If you don't get the fastest boost, the computer will knock you off on this track. That is just a thing that happens, and there's nothing I can do about it, but we should be in first again after this jump. Yeah, okay. So that was a little momentum-based trick. I boosted from a jump and then used that with the angle of the ground to kind of push me over that ledge where I really wasn't supposed to. That's not an intended shortcut, and so we call that a no-item shortcut, because we didn't do it with a mushroom. This track is also like super difficult, I should mention, and I'm not going to be paying as much attention to coin count as I should just because of how tricky this track is, and I have to talk over it because it's a marathon. There's just a lot that you can do, and you'll see that once I get up to 10 coins, I'm going to be taking slightly different lines. I'm going to be taking a little bit tighter turns because I don't need to pick up the coins anymore. This is also... Did I mention character choice? I don't think I actually got through all of that. We're using a build that charges our mini turbos as fast as possible. So in the porting from the Wii U to the Switch, Nintendo made a couple of different changes to the mini turbo stat. And mini turbo now affects 3 different things. It affects how fast your boost is, how long your boost lasts, and how fast your build charges from the mini to the super to the ultra. And so we pretty much have the highest mini turbo stat we can aside from our character. Your character affects your speed a lot more than your cart affects your speed. So we have a character with high speed and then a cart with high mini turbo, and that kind of gives us the best of both worlds. Moving on, now we're on Mute City. This track is honestly what keeps me playing this game. One of many tracks in this game that I absolutely love and adore. There's some really cool tech in this track that I would love to talk about, and I already went too far and waffled for too long. Here's touchless, so I didn't hit any ramps there, and that's faster than hitting the ramps. There is one method that you can hit one of the ramps that saves time, but it's like frame and angle dependent and ridiculous, so we don't go for it. I did not trick in lap 1, and I'm not tricking in lap 2 either, because if you don't trick, you can land on that plate earlier, and that plate gives you coins. So that let us get 8 and 2 coins instead of 7 and 1 coin doing the method that I would have gone. If I had tricked, I would have only had 8 coins, but now I have 10, and that does save time compared to not tricking. There's a lot of time where we're not going to be tricking, because when you trick or when you get hit by an anti-grav thing, which are these things, it will set your speed to a certain amount, and sometimes we're moving faster than that speed, and we actually don't want to trick. It's pretty case by case. I'm not going to always do it right, but just assume that I'm doing it close to right, and also that was 3 touchless, which is perfect. And that's a 7:14 egg cup, which is pretty slow, but we had a bad Dragon Driftway, so it's not the end of the world. Not too worried about it. This has been really good so far for the marathon. I'm really happy with this. Moving on now, we're into Wario's Gold Mine. This track is pretty cool, but I'm pretty bad at it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be taking the most optimal lines on this track. I'm using what I know, and it's fast enough for me, but it's not perfect, right? There are definitely ways that you can improve this track that I have not yet improved. So I'll be open and admit this is not perfect, but this is going to be pretty fast. There's some cool stuff in this track. One thing that's really nice about Wario's Gold Mine is that there are a lot of coins. Coins are really abundant. and they're pretty much on your main path, so you don't have to worry too much about coins because they're always available. And even though I missed those, I'm only at 9 coins instead of 10 coins for a little bit of time, and I'm already at 10. Not the end of the world. Yeehaw! And that bat bumped into me, which is slow, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. We've got a little bit of a breather now. The first 4 tracks in this run are really, really tough, but Wario's Gold Mine, Rainbow Road, and Ice Ice Outpost are pretty good tracks to just kind of breathe on. They give you a little bit of space before the run really picks up. So the mini turbo stat's really important. It's important to release the mini turbo pretty quickly as soon as we get the next tier. So it'll look like I only got a mini turbo, but a lot of the time, not these 2 times, those 2 are just regular mini turbos, but like a lot of the time, you might, ugh, jeez, stuttering over my words. You might not be able to tell that I got like a super mini turbo instead of a mini turbo. And we only do that drift in lap 3, or that trick in lap 3, because of the direction it sends you. I apologize for how much I'm stuttering. I'm really nervous, and my work shift starts now, so I'm late to work. So I'm a little nervous, and I apologize for that. It's a mini turbo? I don't know about that. There's a lot of little things that add up on this track that makes it so that you can kind of make it as difficult as you want it, and that's really cool. So you can see that this track doesn't have any ledges. There's nothing for you to bump into. It's just you're on the track or you're not on the track. And because of that, like how tight you want to take your lines and how close you want to be to the edge, like that turn, or like this turn, you can really force the track to be as hard as you want it to be just by how risky you want to play, because it'll save time for you. Like taking this turn that close is a lot faster than taking a turn like this wide, you know? Like I'd save time if I cut wider, but it's a lot less safe. Things like that's another really cool thing about Mario Kart, and big reason why I really like it. This track is really tough though. The thwomp hitboxes are pretty bad, and so if I get hit at the end of lap 3, well, that's on me. And then there is one thing at the very end of lap 3, if I can get a trick off of those 2 thwomps, that will be... okay, I didn't. Getting a trick there is kind of a symbol that you have a really good pace. So this track is pretty boring. There's not really too much to talk about. This is a good breather track. There's not really too much. However, after this track, things are really going to start picking up. We've got three of the next 4 tracks are super tough, and like the entirety of Bell Cup is really difficult as well. So you're about to see the run really start to pick up, and it's going to be really fun. The density of this run really, it's a lot crammed into the second half or so. This is kind of one of the last places to breathe. Right now I'm just collecting coins and trying to take as optimal of lines as possible. So that means being pretty close to the walls and releasing my drifts close to when I get them. It's also worth noting this is one of the times where hitting all of these anti-grav boosts will slow you down, so you don't want to. You may also notice there's 2 different ways to start a drift that I've been doing. You can either do a hop and turn while you're hopping, so like start turning and hop into that turn. Excuse me. And you can kind of see when I do that, the Donkey Kong leans into the jump. But you can also do a thing that I call a butt scoot, and most people call slide drifting, but butt scoot's a way better name, where you kind of slide your butt out when you land, and that actually saves time. So I'm going to be trying to do that a lot on this track, because going fast is important on Hyrule Circuit. There aren't any super important cycles or anything like that, but this is a very hard track. Very hard track. So I'll show you the butt scoot. Here's a butt scoot. butt scoot like this. You just scoot your butt out. I'll do one more after I get these 2 rupees. Little butt scoot. Yeah, so doing that saves time compared to doing a normal drift. It's really, really minuscule, but they add up over time. And that was the shortcut. I didn't really explain it or hype it up at all. So let me try to explain how it works for laps 2 and 3. So what I'm doing is I'm using basically from this point when I land and start this drift until I jump, it is all conserving my momentum and moving in a specific direction, getting myself to this tree. I don't want to hit the tree, I want to go right next to the tree. And that lets you do that, and that skip is incredibly precise. I can tell you, I've been playing this game for 4.5 years now, I want to say, and I've only just now started to get consistent at it. It is an extremely tough skip. Angle dependent, it's dependent on the time when you jump as well as the speed you're going. You really need to have a really comprehensive knowledge of how the trick works. And in lap 3 there's a Deku plant in the way, so it's even worse and even harder to avoid. Hello. Nah, lap 3 kinda stunk, but it's alright. Now, this is like that one spot where I'm not really sure what they were thinking. We're on Baby Park, and this track's fine. I mean, if you like Baby Park, you like Baby Park. I personally don't like Baby Park all that much, which is why I'm really grateful that you can just drive over the grass. Unfortunately, I didn't do it very well that first lap, but you can literally just drift over the grass on 200cc, and I really appreciate that because you can get the track over with faster. It is important to note that when I bump into a computer, the boost that I get doesn't comply with any rules of keeping your drift off-road, and so they will eat all of your speed if you run into a computer and then go off-road. So I'm going to try to avoid computers even though they technically give me speed boosts, and I'm just going to be using my drifts. Alright, moving on, we're going into what a lot of people consider that this next track is the hardest track in the game. It's a track from the Game Boy, Mario Kart Super Circuit. It's Cheese Land. If you've never seen this track, you might be wondering, how is it so difficult? What's going on? I don't understand, it's just cheese. Well, the reason why this track is really difficult, there are 2 main reasons. The first reason is that there are 2 shortcuts you have to do. And that just kind of already makes it tough, because it's already hard to do tricks optimally. On top of that though, this ground that you're driving on is like extremely bumpy in a lot of places, and that makes setting up the shortcuts more difficult, as well as just maneuvering the track really quickly. And so you can lose anywhere from no time to 4 or 5 seconds on this track alone, just from differences in driving because the track is so difficult. So I'm gonna admit that I have to focus a fair bit on this one. Oh my god, no. So what happened there, this game wasn't coded perfectly. I'll admit, like, I shouldn't be disrespecting them because I can't code it at all, but you get stuck in the wall a lot if you're drifting and you kind of get your tail stuck in the wall. Okay, well, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen. I kind of got stuck in the wall while I was going up the wall, and that got me sent to the right. And I'm not really sure how to explain it other than that. That was a really weird recovery, and I probably would have saved time if I had just jumped off. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, this run is so dead, I'm not even gonna continue having my own life split up. We're going into Wildwoods. This is my favorite track in the game. Personally, my favorite track in the game. And this track features... my close friend Jacob says this track features the hardest no-item shortcut in the game. It is not that difficult. It just doesn't save any time, so is it really worth it? I'm not sure. But I do it because it looks incredible. And it does save time, so he can stuff it. Here's the skip. Hardest skip in the game, according to Jacob. I love the dude, but nah, he's wrong. It's definitely not the hardest skip in the game. I would say that the hardest skip in the game, personally, in my opinion, the hardest skip in the game is on Dry Desert from the GameCube. It's in Retro Tracks. It's in Retro Tracks on Banana Cup. And that, in my opinion, is the hardest shortcut in the game. Skip Baby Park, yeah. A series of precise button inputs allows you to just skip it and not do it at all. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay. Finishing up Wildwoods right now with lap 3. Hopefully I can get the skip. I think I got it. Yeah, easy. Do I like playing Forza and other racing games? I like some racing games, but not very many. I like a lot of kart racers, and arcade racers are pretty good too. Never been much for realistic racing like Forza. Not Double Disc on Ribbon Road. That's not the hardest. I got really consistent on it really quickly, so not so much. Anyways, Animal Crossing. So this is why I held down ZL at the very beginning of the run. There are 4 different seasons that Animal Crossing has. Spring, summer, winter, fall. And fall is the fastest one for 200cc. Winter loses about 7 seconds to fall. And fall really doesn't save any time compared to spring and summer. It's just like the safest pick. On 150cc, summer is the fastest because there are some ramps on the beach. And it might be faster than fall on 200cc as well. It's just a lot more risky, so they don't go for it. But some people do summer and some people do spring. Fall is generally the fastest. Realistic racers are pretty garbage. Like, my opinion on realistic racers is that it's a much better experience actually driving a car. But this is nothing like actually driving a car, so... yeah, that's my thought. That's my take on it. This is the last bit of, like, breathing room I get. This is the last time I'll really have to say hello to chat. This track is, like, the last bit that we've got. Because Bell Cup is tough. Bell Cup is really tough, and it's the last cup of the run. The last 4 tracks of the run. I went off-road, because I'm really smart. And, yeah, so here we go. We are... what's up, Torp? We are on, we're going on to the last 4 tracks of the run. Bell Cup. Starting off with Neo Bowser City, and just like Wario's Goldmine, I have to concede that I'm not using optimal strats, and that there are things that other people are doing that is faster than me. This is a track that I just haven't had the time to develop yet. So I'm going to be doing some slightly less optimal things, but otherwise we're just going to be talking about this track. There's a couple of things that we're doing here, not necessarily always completing a drift, and sometimes just using the hop to move us in a direction. And then this is going to be with brake drifting. I've been doing it throughout the run and didn't really find a good time to explain it, but I'm holding down brake and drift and accelerate all at the same time sometimes. I'm just kind of tapping brake occasionally. That allows you to turn a lot faster while still building your drift at the highest speed possible. Hopefully I don't have to do it too much outside of these little hairpin turns, and it's like 2 or 3 quick like taps of the B button, and that was a time where I should have held it a lot more. And didn't, but it's okay. But since we're towards the end of bonus tracks, and there's a fair number of people here, this is really my favorite category to run in this game. It's like a true challenge and a true test, and I kind of want to just go over where bonus tracks is as a category right now, where people are at. So the world record for this category is a 27:45. For reference, I think this run is going to be somewhere in the mid 28s, like a 28:20 something, maybe worse than that. I'll just be honest about that, but it's whatever. Draco's 27:45 has been around for like a year and a half. I have second place with a 27:46, and I got that in November, like just at October. It was like the end of October, right before Halloween, I remember. Anyways, as we move down, though, Pianist and Mistwalker both have 27:50s, which are also like incredibly good times. And it's also worth mentioning that Pianist got his 27:50 by PBing by 15 seconds in the course of 3 days, and this is a run that at the time was second place, and that's absolutely insane. Yeah, I'm making a lot of mistakes now. Wow, dude, I'm super bad. I'm so sorry. Toshiki has a 27:52, which is a little bit worse than Mist and Pianist, but still fantastic. And Luigi Fan is a 27:58, I want to say. I was the 6th person to get a sub 28 time with a 27:57, and then I lowered that to now a 27:46, so another 11 seconds below my first PB. And it's just like, it's been really close. I'm a second and a half off of Draco's time, off of world record. Man, I would love to go fast for the last like 2.5 laps, 2.5 tracks. Like I already said, I am late to work right now, so the faster I'm done, the sooner I can relieve my coworker. Right, and that's Ribbon Road. Now we've got the last 2 tracks of the run, and yeah, last 2 tracks of the run. Super Bell Subway has 2 different patterns that you can get, which directions the trains are moving in. One of them is about 1.5 seconds faster than the other, just from what lines you have available to take. And I think we got the good RNG from what I saw in the preview. Yes, we did get the good RNG. So the way you can tell is if you do that trick and the car is well past you, you have good RNG. And that just allows for better turns to be available, and so you can save about 1.5 seconds compared to if the trains were in the other spot. There's not really too much to talk about on this track. It's just a hard track. It's really fast. The subway cars have the same hitbox problem that the thwomps on Rainbow Road have, where they're just a little big, so avoiding them is kind of tough, so it does require a lot of your focus. And so yeah, so here's the grass shortcut, and I did it a little slow. If you keep your speed, you can save time from going around normally, and if you don't, it's about the same pace. Sometimes I go around it, sometimes I go for the cut, and it really just depends on where I'm at on the track when I get there. It's like if I'm closer to do the cut, I'll just do the cut because it's there. But timing-wise, it's about the same. No, that's definitely not how it works, John. That was like the only time I had available to look at chat. And now, we're on the last track of the run, Big Blue. If you've never seen this run, if you've never seen this track at 200cc before, you're in for a treat, because Big Blue, as much as it's a hard track, it's also kind of like a victory lap. There's just one hard thing that you have to get done, and that's of course the Big Blue skip, which we'll get to in a moment. I do want to highlight though that this track has been going on there's been a world record battle for time trials on this track, and I'm gonna just read off in my peripheral vision what Pianist told me about it. 1.0 or 1 minute point X seconds recently happened, and the world record has been going down literally 1 frame at a time for a while. The current world record is less than 1/10 of a second off of the sum of best known segments. And I just messed up the trick. So that trick skips 75% of the second section, and I just messed it up. So I just feel terrible now, and I'm so sorry. I should have been focusing more. Not gonna lie. Yeah. So I did that pretty bad. Yeah, that was really bad actually. Anyways, let's just finish out this run. Get it finished. It's almost done. Just gotta cross the finish line, and time is going to be now. And there we go. I'm gonna unmute my mic on Discord and mute my mic on my Twitch stuff.